Are you able to see my screen? Let's start.
Yes.
Okay. So we are starting 1 minute early. Very nice. So hello everyone. My name is Priya Patra and I'm the Vice President Outreach of PMI Mumbai chapter. And I am the host, hostess for this session today. And we also have our second anchor chapter, South Africa chapter. Pierre, could you say hi to everyone?
Hi everyone. Hi everyone, it's Pierre from South Africa chapter. Welcome.
Welcome to the
Welcome to the session.
Pierre,
Pierre,
you have to mute
you
yourself.
have to mute yourself.
Yeah. So Pierre is our chapter leader from PMI South Africa. I do also have Jinan as my co-host and also Prashank. Jinan, if you could say hi to everyone.
Hi, this is Jinan here. I'm from Mumbai.
And Jinan is the session moderator of the session as well today. And Prashank is from PMI Gujarat chapter. Prashank, if you could say hi to everyone.
Hello, I'm Rushank. I am a volunteer as Vice President Professional Development with PMI Gujarat India chapter. Today we have our PMI friends joining in from different PMI chapters, like from Indonesia, Gujarat, Zimbabwe, New Zealand, Phoenix, Czech Republic, South Africa, Netherlands, Sri Lanka, South Florida, United Kingdom, a whole list of different chapters. And definitely our newest addition is PMI Lima Peru chapter. Please say hello to each other and continue networking while we get started. Today we are extremely excited to announce we have registrations from 40 different countries, right from Phoenix in US and to way back to New Zealand and all countries and continents in between. So thank you everyone for this very warm response to this initiative. While we have already entered the Mentipoll link, we would love to know from where you are joining. Well, this meeting is being recorded. So if you are uncomfortable in any ways, you may choose not to attend. Else, you are most welcome to continue. Please make your noise making devices on silent mode. And there is a disclaimer here. Everyone here in this event are speaking on our individual capacity. Our views do not represent our organization's views in any ways. So, Priya, over to you.
Yeah, and we also do have the feedback link, which will be shared with you a few minutes before the end of the session. Please feel free to scan this QR code to take the feedback at any time. So I'll paste the link on the chat window after I introduce the special guest of our session today. She is Brantley Underhill, and it gives me immense pleasure to invite her to this virtual stage. A bit about Brantley. She's all about people, culture, and of course, culture of change, life, and all the meanings of life in it. She leads the PMI's North American business and global oversight and multiple volunteer programs, enabling better value through connection, advocacy, or project management profession. She is a community builder, and I know that. And she has led community organizations, volunteer leadership organizations, including PMI offices in Dubai, Singapore, Brussels, all across the globe, I would say. She's greatly contributed to the transformation of PMI members across the globe to achieve greater engagement and valuable outcomes. And she's a co-leader of a startup for implementing PMI's culture, change management capability. And she draws all her energy from outdoors, practicing yoga. Wow, that's good. And she also loves to guide others in their wellness journey. I will connect with you, Brantley, soon after this session to understand how I can do well, even better in my journey. So, Brantley, with this, I hand over the stage to you and take us through.
Thank you, Priya, and thank you everybody for being here. Wow, 40 countries. That's super amazing. I'm waking up today on Friday morning. I live outside of Philadelphia. It's a sunny spring day here. I say thank goodness for seasons, because the constant change of the weather and the temperature just helps me get out of some of the COVID doldrums that I'm sure we all feel from time to time. You know, March is coming to an end, so definitely a new season ahead of us. It's the end of the first quarter, which is a big deal in the business world, right? And some organizations closing their books, some getting ready to start a new year. And it's also the full year wrapping up the impact of the global pandemic. We've been in it for a full year. And the physical and the mental struggles of this pandemic are real. The Kaiser Family Foundation reports that 40% of adults in the United States have reported symptoms of anxiety and depression, compared to just 10% in 2019. So many adults, and I know children too, are experiencing negative impacts on their mental health, their well-being. They're having difficulty sleeping. Maybe there's an increase in alcohol and substance abuse, and worsening chronic conditions due to worry and stress over the coronavirus. And I think that makes it really important these days to consider the role that community plays in all the different communities that we belong to. You know, I thank the organizers for the community exchange here, because you're meeting each other where you're at. You're giving opportunity to connect. Like I said, 40 different countries. The fact that you're spending your Friday or your Saturday to be able to connect with your PMI, your project management colleagues from around the world, when I know you also have family communities and church communities or workout communities or whatever they may be, all these different communities that are changing before our eyes. You know, and March was also National Women's Month here in the United States, and March 8th was International Women's Day. And, you know, unfortunately, the research shows that women suffer from more of the stressors of this pandemic. The McKinsey organization calls it the double shift, meaning there's an increase in workload and household responsibilities. And in the workplace, women are more likely to struggle with connectivity and belonging, concern over safe work sites, performance reviews, their physical health. And in emerging economies, it's worse. You know, I know when I was prepping for this call, Priya and I were talking about just the dynamic in her home country of India, and working from home has not been such a normal thing until this past year. And you have multiple people and multiple generations living in one space. It's really crazy. We've all experienced this, whether we live alone and we feel isolated and lonely, or we're living with elderly parents and young children. I have a 9-year-old, so I've spent most of the past year hybrid schooling him or homeschooling him while working a full-time job. So all of these impacts and the way that we're living really call into question that need for connectivity. You know, and on top of it, when we look at PMI is transforming as well. In the last quarter, in the last month, we started rolling out to our chapter leaders messaging about PMI 4.0 strategy, which is coming later this year. PMI 4.0 is PMI's growth strategy. It's the activation of the new PMI that is built on the foundation of our existing strategy that we initiated 3 years ago. And this 4.0 strategy is all about expanding focus, our product portfolio, our impact. Project managers are the change makers in their organizations, and they're being asked to do more than ever before. You know, not just the triple constraint, right? But so much more. And not only that, the people they work with who are not identifying as project managers, but are integral to the success of the project and the organization. These are change makers. These are people who make ideas a reality. And we're all learning to work in new ways. There are new ways of working impacting us. And so PMI is changing the way we operate and the way we look forward to support project professionals throughout this organization, throughout their own pursuits to build this broader community of change makers. And there's 4 strategic areas of our new 4.0 strategy. One is B2B advocacy and B2C enablement. So PMI's always done a pretty good job of marketing direct to the consumer, but we need to work with organizations because they're coming at us saying, please help us with upskilling and reskilling our employees so that not only we can make it through this pandemic, but we can thrive beyond it. Another focal point is social benefit and societal impact. Many of you that volunteer for PMI want to make your community better. You want to make the profession better. So what motivates people to volunteer? When you think about why you give your time and your expertise to PMI or to your local communities, there's something driving that. And so the societal impact of our PMI community is immense, and we can change the world by what we have to give. We are also looking to partner with more associations and organizations that are like-minded, but also open up new opportunities to expand people to the idea of the project economy. So we call this the Coalition of Associations, and as well, we're looking at expanded communities and targeted engagement. This new community of skill building change makers is needed, and it can be difficult to come by. Our chapter network is highly successful in building the local communities and putting PMI on the map in over 100 countries around the world. And it's so valuable to reach this expanded stakeholder universe that we're talking about of change makers. It's not just the project manager, it's the project manager and all the people that serve in these projects. So we use this moniker 5 to 75. It could be younger than 5. It definitely can be older than 75. You know, but this is the audience that we're looking to support and build products for at all different stages of their career, whether they are just thinking about a career in project management or don't even know it exists, but also maybe wrapping up their career and they feel that they have so much to give back. So, you know, I've been with PMI for over 20 years, and I have seen a lot of transformation within PMI and within this profession. You know, just to kind of date myself, I started in 1998 when PMI had about 40,000 members. Today it's approaching 700,000 members. And you know, we use this term component in the PMI bylaws. It describes a subsidiary organization of PMI. You know, and chapters specifically represent this distinct, definable geographical area. And PMI chapters have been around for 40 years. Our oldest chapter is PMI Houston chapter, which chartered in 1974, and we're still chartering chapters today. Thomas Jefferson, you know, our third president in the United States and a founding father of our country, said a community is a group of people with a common interest. It only takes 2 people. So think about what a community could actually be, and I am sure that we are feeling the dynamic impact of COVID and this pandemic in the past year and what a chapter really is or could be. I've heard many stories of chapters talking about how there's increased participation in their events because people aren't constrained to have to physically come there in person. They could do it from anywhere. And I love this idea of what these chapters here today have done, which is to meet you where you are, to say, hey, you know, we've got some interesting topics, we've got great people and talents, let's share that with you. So community can be very structured, like a PMI chapter, and it can also be very free form and flowing, you know, and meeting people with where they're at and what they need. You know, organizations are also experiencing this too. I'm sure you're feeling it if you're working in an organization. The way we serve clients is changing, business models are changing. I love the telehealth example, you know, where nearly 1% of people prior to the pandemic were seeing a doctor online. And in some countries today, that's risen to 100%. I mean, think about that. Think about what has to go into seeing a doctor online and all the people that make that happen. I found it to be much more convenient, not have to fill out all the paperwork in person, but to do it all online one time and be done with it. I think this time also asks us to think about our why and why we do what we do, or why we prioritize what we're doing, or how we create these boundaries between work and home life. I always, reflect upon Simon Sinek. Remember, he said that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And this, not only are organizations going through it, but I believe that we as individuals are going through it too. And our why can change over time. And it's important to understand what our why is. And we might be feeling that in the workplace now because we have to adapt. We have to demonstrate agility and adaptability, and we're hoping that our employers will give that to us. So one of the ways that PMI becomes a solution partner to organizations and to practitioners alike is through this expanded product portfolio. I mean, you've probably heard us talk about in the last year of things like disciplined agile, wicked problem solving, which is a user design centered course, citizen developer, low code, no code, and what's the governance around how that happens in organizations. A lot of these solutions are being created because the problem is lack of skills, and organizations and people are feeling this. Just last week, we rolled out a new product called Organizational Transformation Foundation, which I think is pretty cool because for the experienced project manager that maybe has not worked in transformations or is interested in doing so, it sort of starts to create a career path for a project manager to be a digital transformation or a transformation project manager. So this OTF, as we call it, Organizational Transformation Foundation, is the first of 3 e-learning and digital badge series that helps create the base foundation for transformation, as well as pursuing a leadership role in an organization related to that. And so much good stuff coming. If you're new to a lot of this, connect in with your local chapter, get connected to PMI communities. It's funny, I don't know if any of you participated in PM Expo yesterday. We had 60,000 people registered for that event. And one thing I noticed that was different was if anybody was there, that chat was going really fast, right? So more people and higher engagement is pretty cool, but it kind of makes it hard to follow what everybody's saying within the community. But I was in the citizen developer session, and there were people saying, like, I want to talk and learn more about this. How do we do that? And someone just popped in a WhatsApp group and said, I just started a WhatsApp group, join here. That's how fast community can happen to fulfill a need. And even if it's only 2 people, that community is going to go somewhere, right? Because it's serving the need of 2 people with a common interest. So as I leave you today with your session, I know that you're going to jump into a construction topic, and I did want to kind of give you a little bit of a hint that PMI is recognizing the transformation within that industry as well. There's a skills shortage in the construction industry, and for that reason, PMI is developing a certified construction project professional set of products, e-learning and micro-credentials. It will result in 7 courses with 3 micro-credentials and 1 capstone exam at the end. So we are going to begin testing for these products in April and through the end of the year, and we intend to launch this part of our product portfolio by the end of the year. So more to come, and if this is a topic that's of interest to you, connect with me on LinkedIn or message me, and I'll make sure that you're on the list to receive ongoing updates. So as I close out here, thank you so much for all that you do, for uplifting your own communities, for taking care of one another, being patient with one another, helping each other out. It's what we're all about at PMI, is raising our communities upwards. So thank you to all of you who have been doing this tirelessly, and I'm in your corner. You got my support. Thank you.
So thank you, Brantley. Did you say PMI is in 100 countries?
PMI chapters in over 100 countries, yes.
Oh, we have only 40 here. We have to work harder, team, to get the other 60 in. So let's see what we can do, right?
Okay. We got it, yeah.
So, all right. Thank you, Brantley, for that wonderful session. A little about our community, as Brantley said, about PMI Chapter Exchange. So our vision is to individualize cross-chapter collaboration and encourage cultural diversity. And today we have 13 chapters and of course, many supporting chapters on this platform today. And as I said, we have registrations from 40 countries. And it is all about teamwork. We are moving beyond events. We are going into something called Inside Cities. We are collaborating to build knowledge base. So, first, it would be like a point of view which we will collaboratively develop on certain topics. And our first one will be released in May. Any chapter leader member who is willing to participate in this, shoot out us a mail at pmichapterexchange@gmail.com. I will post the email ID on the chat window again. And by doing this, what are we doing? We're just building a community to share good practices within and external to the program. And yes, we grew. Yes, we grew. Not only in numbers, but also in a sphere of influence through diversity, through inclusion, through equity of thoughts. And that's why you will notice we just have 13 chapters, but we have so many people joining in. And you will see our panelists are all from diverse background who are participating in this program, because we truly believe diverse connections leads to innovative solutions. And with this, I would like to introduce Rocio de la Cutra. She is the president of PMI Lima Peru chapter. Rocio is a senior executive with wide experience in major multinational companies, leading transformation strategies in product within the entire product life cycle and adapting product development models to provide business insights. She has been a local regional leadership with multidisciplinary teams in Latin America. So with this, Rocio, I hand over the stage to you to say a few words about yourself, your chapter, and PMI Chapter Exchange.
Thank you so much for this invitation. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever we are. I want to say thank you, Priya. You look at me the last December in order to join this great exchange program. This year, I have an honor to be the president of the Lima Peru chapter. Lima is the capital of Peru. Peru is in South America, and we are part of the South Regional 13 in PMI. Our chapter is almost 2,000 members, and it was established 22 years ago. And we have 4 communities in construction, in public sector, in social fields, and in IT fields. Also, we have several programs and mentoring programs for the new youth members. We here in Peru, we speak in Spanish, and we already launched a program in academic English for project manager. We have a study group in PMP and risk certifications. We also have a welcome new members program, and of course, our customer experience program. We're running more than 80 events at webinars, summits, programs, peace conference, and we're planning this year to give almost 2,000 PDUs of our members. Also, this year we are having more than 160 volunteers, and we will give more than 10,000 volunteers hours because we have a lot of activities. And our rate satisfaction is right now 75, and of course, Lima Peru chapter is continued improving, launching new projects, and looking new ways of collaborations in order to give more new opportunities of our members. For example, this great exchange program is a very good opportunity for our members. And thank you so much again to be part of this great program. I think that you have to take care. These years it's almost quite difficult here in Peru. It's difficult, and the last thing is enjoy this session because it would be a great session. Thank you, all of you to be here. Okay.
Thank you, Rokio. With this, I hand over the stage to Jinan to start our panel discussion on project management in construction. So, Jinan, over to you.
Thank you so much, Priya, and I welcome each and every of 223 participants at the PMI Exchange Chapter event. So, construction, let me introduce the topic here. Construction, even though we as humans are doing construction since like storage, but still construction projects are considered as complex and high risk. So today's topic, we would revolve around the emerging trends and the challenges in construction project management and how the industry is solving it in real time across the globe. Let me introduce our panel experts. From Jakarta, Indonesia, we have Adi Paristito. From over 25 years of experience in projects, programs, and portfolio management with various industries like mining, oil and gas, EPC, project management consultancy, we call it PMC. And he's also a founder member of PMI Chapter Indonesia. He was president chapter for 2004 to 2008, and he's currently project management advisor for Indonesia's national strategic project. We also have here Harry Imari from Detroit, USA. Harry is a construction project management professional with a doctorate in business administration in strategic management with over 20 years of experience in delivering project outputs, improving business outcomes. He is currently Director of Corporate Outreach and founder of Construction Quality Management Community of Project Management Institute Great Lake Chapter in the state of Michigan. It has over 200 members. We also have here from Lima, Peru, Jose Hindalco. He is a mechanical engineer, MBA from ISAN, PMP certified professional. His extensive experience in leading the project and strategic initiatives across various industries like mining, oil and gas, industrial portfolio projects. Currently is developing alliances and businesses in non-conventional renewable energy and its management and supervisions of EPC projects. We here have one more expert from Harare, Zimbabwe. Her name is Silibasio Chinawa. She is a certified project management professional who is qualified as civil and water engineer. She has vast experience in energy, education, social security, infrastructure development, as well as urban housing development. She's currently a senior director projects responsible for real estate development investment. I think she's creating a fund to facilitate affordable housing. So here are our 4 experts, and let's just roll the questions going on. So the first and the foremost thing right now we are facing is the COVID impact. Like it said, what are the effects of COVID? After effects of COVID-19, the lockdown it induced, the projects were stalled for, I don't know, like 6 months, 3 months, a year somewhere, or a few days. But what are the temporary changes in our industry and what are the permanent changes in the industry? Harry, would you like to go?
Sure, I would love to talk about that. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm very excited to be part of this panel and discuss construction-specific topics in PMI. As you guys mentioned, COVID has a lot of impact on our industry because we are member and also labor-based construction industry is very tight with like having a lot of people interactions, and you can't do everything remote. So actually we had to stop a month during March to April last year. So we understand the impact, the way that the COVID infection is going to work. And we had to do a lot of changes in our field where people and laborers couldn't get together or close to each other more than 6 feet, and also had to have lunch and their activities separate from each other, and also do temperature controls and all those other measures to contain the COVID. But fortunately, we didn't have any major cases in our job, and we've been running 160 to 180 people a day on our one project that we've been doing. And thankfully, we had no cases where we had to stop work or send anybody home. I guess where the trend is going is now a lot of companies are working on remote construction management. And that's what is very exciting, because I had this idea maybe 3-4 years ago, but nobody was thinking about that. Now with everybody is dealing from office, they are getting into remote construction management and also quality control. So I'm excited to talk about that hopefully in the future.
So how is the quality control getting impacted? I think without physically being present, doing the quality control it's a trick in itself.
Exactly. So there are a lot of new technologies that are coming out. I'm not sure if you've seen the Oracle and Reconstruct webinars that are going on recently. OpenSpace has been doing a lot of good research in that. Now with the 360 cameras that you can put on those robotic dogs, or even on a person's hard hat, as they walk the job site, one person is only needed to do that scanning, and it changes to point cloud and also data that you can analyze and understand the impact and the progress of the job. So not everybody needs to be on the job site. Not everybody needs to do daily or weekly visits. One person does that and everybody can share the data.
Okay. So let me put this question to Adi Peristio. Sir, what do you think are the temporary and the permanent impacts of COVID-19 lockdown?
Hi, Jinan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thanks for the time. And yes, as Harry mentioned, that COVID-19 is quite bring a give impact to our project here in Indonesia. And you can see in the fact that so many projects is delayed or even terminated. In our case, in the Indonesian construction industry, we are facing a very bad impact on some delay and cancellation, and also the increasing case employee of termination. It's an impact of economic slowdown, and of course the lower productivity, leading of the deteriorating performance. So the most favorite topics now in our country is about how to manage the project resilience, yeah, how to increase it and how to maintain it, how to project become the resilience to become to counter this situation. So I'm going to have very happy to discuss it in this event. Okay, that's all from me, Jinan.
So let me put the question to Jose, are you there? I think some connectivity issues with him. Yes, Mr. Jose. What are temporary and permanent impact of COVID lockdown?
I can hear you, Jining. Sorry.
What are the temporary and the permanent changes in the industry which is due to the lockdown induced by COVID-19?
Yes, about the question, I think the most important permanent change in our country to develop a project has been that the companies have to review and rethink the values of each company to build a trust with the workers, strategic partners, and communities where they operate, maintaining respect for signed agreements, supporting adjacent communities, and respect for employees and strategic partners, achieve the operational continuity based on predictable operation, implement operational resilience to be able to achieve the objectives even in other situations. But I think the most important change it has been to start to implement the digital transformation through the use of digital technologies and data management. Companies can increase the efficiency through the remote operations, process automation, robotization, and digital operations in real time. This is the situation here in Peru with the big projects that are developing now. The COVID has been a catalyst to the digital transformation. This is a trend that has been started many years ago, but now, as I repeat, the COVID has been a catalyst for the transformation. Yes.
So let me take the views from Silly. Silly, what are your views on the changes, permanent and temporary?
Thank you, Jinan. I think one of the biggest problems that has been highlighted by Harry is the issue of quality control. Remote quality control is going to be very difficult for a lot of us as project managers, especially out here in Zimbabwe, because the technology is not there. We do have quite a number of companies who are selling the idea of drone management on sites, but obviously resource pooling to make sure that clients and contractors have got all these systems and consultants, as well as the project management teams, increases the cost of the project, which you don't want to do. So that impact is going to be felt. But I think one of the biggest impacts that we're going to feel is contractual management, the issue of the force majeure impact on almost all projects, on almost every single aspect of the project. That is going to be a long drawn out fight that the project manager has to take care of. So I see a new role for us as construction project managers. We're going to have to do a lot more stakeholder hand-holding and to walk them through the whole concept of the force majeure and to try and bring everybody to the table to make sure that the contracts come back to life so that we have a win-win situation. And I think that becomes key for any project manager out there. Get your stakeholders onto the table to discuss how to get the projects back on track again.
I would totally resonate with you on that. I think first few weeks after opening up, everybody would have just spent on contracts management. So another point which is very closely highlighted by Mr. Adi was the work from home. So other industries, they are like working from home, digital remote teams and all. Other industries are pretty much grown in this, whereas construction industry, even thinking about working remotely or working from home for projects team. So I understand design is there working remotely, but for projects team it was unimaginable. So how do you think it is working out for the industry? Will it be sustainable in future? Will it carry on? What all divisions of our industries would accept this as a norm going forward? Over to you, Harry.
Hello?
Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, of course, our construction industry is also experiencing work from home. We actually invited our members, especially the ones that are spending a lot of management time in the trailer, to kind of divide the week and work few days of the week at home so they don't have to all be in the same area and very in close proximity. So I'd say a lot of the activities that we do to support the laborers in the field and the workers that are doing the actual construction happens in the office, and there are different aspects of construction, whereas we have construction contract management, we have estimation, we have pre-construction activities, we have construction management planning. All those could happen remotely and from home. The only aspect that really needs to be done in the actual field is the construction itself. And there are ways that you can reduce the number of workers with pre-construction and modular construction in off-site and bringing those pre-constructed material just for installation at the job site. So I see the future of construction to change totally with all the new technologies that we have. With the exoskeleton, for example, you don't need that many laborers to work together on carrying material or installing stuff just because they have these new robotic attachments that can help with the installation, with the picking up the material, even with welding and cutting and things like that. So now the technology is improving where you have less people in the field and more doing the planning and management. So I'll discuss more about that in the future.
Do you want to add something to this, Adi?
Yes, in our case, I think we divide the working groups in construction into two big parts: the indoor activity and outdoor activity. For the indoor activity, yes, it is very possible, and now it works. For design, engineering, and then some program activities can be done by remote. Shift totally into the remote type of work. But for the outdoor activity, I think it is for some work is impossible. You still need to be on the field. Yeah. What we're doing is to change the working system to add more some like mechanical tools, like Hani mentioned, and also the support of some tools that quite sophisticated to help the works, like a BIM, building information management. That's quite helpful. And then how to manage the labor effectively, and then how to change the work system in accordance with the COVID protocols. And so far, it works in our case. Okay. That's from our case, Dinan.
Want to add something, Silly?
Thanks, Jinan. I think for ours, I think the lower side of this African half of, should I say, this half of Africa where we're working from, where we've had a serious skill movement or brain drain from our industry into other countries, it's going to be very difficult to go totally remote with regards to construction. We're still going to be working on the ground. We're still going to have a lot of human interaction on the sites. What we can only do, which is still going to be felt by the client, that is going to be a cost to the project, is to obviously increase the use of sanitization methods, try and keep employees and maybe construction workers apart on the site. But you can only do so much. And as a project manager, I think what you might have to do is to increase the safety and health aspect into the project. That becomes a strong need to build that into the contract right from the beginning. For the projects that are already running, obviously, I've seen a number of contractors who've tried to have special skills work at a different time, but it doesn't always come together. You have to have different skills working together at any given time. So it still comes back to the issue of cost management and how we, whether we can get the technology here onto the ground quickly. It's going to be a while before we probably get to the levels of Harry and what's happening in Peru. So we still have quite a way to go.
But we have how about we use a dome sort of system where the cricket teams are working. They are inside a dome. they're tested and they're clear and they're not traveling outside. So if we create a dome structure for construction projects, won't that be economical compared to the capex investment in the technology? Because I'm pretty sure US would be able to do a capex investment in between ongoing projects, but it won't be possible across the globe. What are your views on creating a dome? Silly.
I think, look, from where we've come with COVID and the impact it has had on different sectors, and nothing is impossible. But obviously, like I said, the biggest issue will always be the cost impact on the client, and the cost impact is still there when you have the health impact of COVID. And not all projects will be able to create a dome. One thing that we always say about project sites is that community, sense of community, which I think Brantley was talking about. It's slowly dissipating. Project team community building was always there. You could come and sit and have a project team meeting and rally together. Now you don't want to stay too long on the site. You don't want to hang out with the rest of the construction site. So the dome aspect, depending on what our young generation X and Z are going to come up with, we probably are looking at something like that. But also because construction sites are mostly open air, I think we've sort of managed to escape the bigger impact of COVID on construction sites because of that open airness. But where you've got employees working in a tunnel, it becomes a different situation. So I think each construction site will have its own, should I say, solution that will work best at any given time.
Harry, your views, creating a virtual dome, not letting people in and out and getting work done, or going ahead and buying an ABB's new cutting edge exoskeleton? What would you pick?
Well, like I mentioned, we never had an issue of people getting sick from each other. I mean, most of the cases that we heard were either their families got sick from other areas and then they had to be quarantined just for 2 weeks so they don't infect others. But we never had a case where the person himself or the worker became sick or got everybody else sick. So the way that we did that in our job site is checking temperature, making sure that the workers keep their social distances. As soon as they have bad feeling, we tell them to stay at home. And I think the key was that we paid them while they stayed and they were quarantined. So if you don't pay your workers and you expect them to stay home with no pay, then of course they're going to lie on those forms. They're going to say, I'm feeling good. I'm going to come to work and get paid. So that's the ultimate thing, is the company culture and how you can treat your workers. It became a key factor in this, where companies took some of that hit, but the government also helped very much with loans and other things that the United States did. I don't know in other countries, but I think our government did an excellent job of protecting our workers and laborers in this pandemic.
True to that. From what Mr. Adi Peru said, we usually discuss the teams in two segments, indoor and the outdoor. And taking a step back from this question, how do you think? So indoor teams can be very easily transferred on a digital platform, and outdoor teams can be quarantined and work on site and stuff like that. But how do you think when the next generation like me, millennials, and then Generation Z, they are not attracted to working on site? They are not attracted with the growth in the industry. Because see, it's very, very easy to compare an IT project manager finishing his projects in like 3 months, 6 months, whereas a construction project management is getting finished like 3 years, 2.5 years, 7 years. God knows. So the work satisfaction here for millennials is pretty low. How do you retain millennials? How do you attract the Gen Zs? And then what do we do today so that Gen Alpha, when they would be ready a decade later, they would join us? So I would like to take your views, Josh, to repeat. What are your views in attracting the millennials and Gen Zs to construction projects?
Yes, I think it depends on the patient. Yeah. If you see the people that they love to see the other place and then the high tech of technology, how to create the building, high-rise building, and then the high tech of the EPC technology, then they will love it. They will love the construction activity.
Mhm.
Some of the projects, like in our country, they do the projects in a remote area, the new place, and then the new challenge. I think is for some millennials that having patience in how to, would like to see a new word, a new challenge. The construction is a good place to grow. It's a good place to join, to enhance their experience and also their what you call it, the knowledge, in terms of the technology of the construction. So yes, construction takes longer than IT and everything, but the challenge is different. And then you can have opportunity also to see the other mega project, for example. The mega project is quite give you the high credential, high experience that maybe you cannot take it from another projects. Each project of the construction, especially for the mega project, is quite unique. In my experience, when I joined the project, it's always unique. There's something that maybe the millennials can attract, to join this industry.
Your views, Harry. I think you have a lot to say on this.
I agree actually with Adi, is that I'm not too concerned about the future, because it depends on the personality and the person. I don't say that everybody is not as outgoing or they don't like to touch tools and work with tools. Myself, I was a civil engineer that changed to construction management just because I was too tired of sitting in front of the computer designing stuff, and I wanted to go outside and meet with other people and kind of exercise my extroverted personality. So it depends on the person and their personality, but I'm surprised actually that the millennials and the Gen Z, as you call them, they are changing and forming the future. I mean, we need to catch up with them with all this new technology and the way that they're looking at things. My son, I guess, is part of the Gen Z, and he played Fortnite for a while, a lot. And there was a feature in there that they had to create and build buildings as they were playing in it. And he could build better buildings that I could design on BIM or anything like that, because it was so easy to create it in there with all these different tools and models available there. So I'm thinking that in future, it would be much easier. It would be a type of a gamification type where the Gen Z people would really relate to and kind of like to maybe apply their actual work into those kind of environments. And I'm not too concerned about the future. I think it's being developed as we are seeing this, and we just need to kind of update ourselves to adapt to the new way of doing business. I guess that I'm more concerned about ourselves than the new generation.
So I can read a lot of posts. One of I will read. Alfred has said the dome system has worked for him. It had allowed his project to continue through the peak COVID. And a lot of questions are still following the COVID-19. I think we should take one of the questions. So how are you measuring impacts in cost and schedule due to COVID-19? So I think Diego Gracia here is asking us, what are the new baselines? Have we changed the baseline? Like, let's, for starters, we change the baseline. Do we measure the project differently? Do we measure it? The time constraint, the risk? I think risk management would have changed drastically, but what about cost and schedule? Who would want to take this question? Silly would. I know Silly has already.
I guess I can
contracts.
go just to let you know that this was a force majeure. I mean, COVID is considered act of God. It's a force majeure. Nobody had considered that something like this could happen. So you would go to your general condition and see how you handle force majeure in that contract. So that's the first thing. The second is that COVID, like anything else, I mean, it had an impact. Our project, for example, was a month delayed. However, the impact of the delay wasn't just 1 month, just to get everybody remobilized, to get everybody to adapt to the new way of doing business, the productivity level that went down, all that had more than a month delay kind of impact on our schedule. And maybe I could say maybe 3 months, even to 4 months delay on the entire master plan. However, you would do recovery, meaning that you will re-look at your different tasks that you're doing, how you're installing things, what are the different things that you can maybe cut from the job or do alternative things. Like I said, pre-construction was one of the things that we did, off-site construction, one of the things, and kind of cutting on some of those things so you can meet your deadlines. Now, cost is also certainly a major problem, and usually you got to negotiate with your owner. If you want to repeat business, you got to talk to your client in a way that it doesn't hurt either side. So that's a negotiation skill, actually.
So a very simple solution which comes to my head basically is about the policy and the government's role. I know two of our panelists are working very closely with the government, and I would want to know what more can the government do at this juncture to not change the after effects on a permanent scale. The industry itself is trying to improve the productivity. The lockdown has had a temporary productivity change, reduced it. Is there any support needed policy-wise from the government? Silly or Josh and Adi, I think you three are working closely with the government.
Thank you, Jinan.
Yes.
I totally believe that there is a need for some policy change to come to the table to meet, the impacted, say, the entire sector with regards to construction. But I also believe that the solution has got to come from us in the construction industry. It's not going to come from government. We have to table what we consider to be the solution to our own problem, because we're in the middle of it. And I think going back to what Harry has just spoken about, it's all about us being able to determine what our reworking costs are going to be, the loss in profit for not just the contractor, but the client as well. You're going to have to factor all those in and then figure out how to sell to government or how to sell to each sector policymakers to say this is how we can get around it. Obviously, there is one of the biggest issues that's going to arise is if you were a client who was putting up an office complex and we've gone totally remote, what are you going to do with that building? You have to think around those things. So you're going to have all these facilities that are probably going up but may not be usable for quite a while. So now you have to come to the table to government and say this is what we consider could happen to this facility, or this is how policy could assist the client and the contractor in order to be able to recoup losses. But it has to come from us as an industry and not necessarily from government at this present stage. That's the way I see it anyway.
Josh, you would like to add something? Jose?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
In our
the role of policy making.
Yes, in our case, the government has left to any case, when I started COVID, has been very restricted to the companies in order to obtain a better situation to control the pandemic. But at seeing the relative, because there was a very big impact in the economy, now the government has left to every company to decide the size of the rules to control the pandemic. There was only rules, basic rules, the distance and the use of the mask and maybe some quarantines to start the work in the projects. But every company has decided to implement the better ways to work.
Okay, there's one more very interesting question there on the chat board here, which we come back to, but I want to address a very old question which I want to ask to the panel from a very long time is, tell us about the evolving role, okay, of women in the construction projects, construction project management, and construction industry as a whole. So 10 years, 8 years back when I was to start, I saw just a handful of women workers, colleagues, and now the numbers are not that impressively changed on my observation. So what are your observations? What do you think is the situation here? Will on the women? So Adi, in the 25 years, I think you have the highest experience here. How are things for women 25 years back, and how are they now in our industry?
Yes, from our case, back to 25 years ago until now, I see no problem with that. I think the involvement of the woman is quite intense in the project, especially in the indoor activity. The indoor activity totally is based on the knowledge that you have, the competence. It's nothing to do with the gender. But of course, for the outdoor activity, there's some limitation that perhaps we have to understand. Yeah, maybe if you're working in the remote areas, for example, working in the high, the
altitude,
yes, altitude, something like that. That perhaps you have to consider this. I think that's the situation that we're facing in the construction industry.
Your Jose.
Yes, just to tell you that here in Peru, 20 years ago, the women started the operation of the dump trucks. You know, the dump trucks, the big trucks in the mines.
Yes, dumpers.
Successful. Yes, was successful, despite the belief that they were not capable to do this. But here in Peru, the women have always been very, very brave to assuming the challenge that traditionally related to men. It was not uncommon to see women engineers standing out in their careers. And now currently there is 25% of women to study engineering, but we are going to improve this because there is a lot of policies to improve the number of women studying engineering by the government and by the private sector. I think it's okay. It's a trend now here in Peru to improve the participation of women in the projects.
I think the issue of inclusion, whether it's women, minorities, or any other groups, is a big issue that is being discussed now in construction in the United States. And we have a lot of those meetings and discussions, especially during the month of March, which is the Women's Month, and we have Women in Construction Week. And We're in full support. I also teach in universities, so I see 20 to 30% of my students are women in construction, and it's growing. I think it's different aspects, especially from cultural aspect, from education aspect. It's not just that men should allow women to come into the construction industry. It's more of bringing up the society to the level where women feel comfortable to be on the job sites and be part of the team. And I know men always welcome that, because in our trailers, we see whenever there's a woman in our team, it becomes much nicer and more comfortable to be there, just because their perspective of being tidy and being clean on how they'd like to do their work, and the manager can take care of those kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is, it's not an issue of men and women having issue and not conflicting needs or wants in the field. It's more of bringing up the education. I remember I used to be a safety officer 20 years ago. And as a safety officer, people hated me. They always thought I'm policing them, and they kind of dropped like bolts and tried to cause problems for me whenever I was walking on the job site, just because they didn't understand that I'm there to help them and kind of help them to go safer to their home. So after 20 years, I see the culture has grown with OSHA and how they look at OSHA fines, not as a place to stop them from getting their pay or becoming good laborers or workers, but actually keeping them safe so they can return to their homes and their families. So I think talking about it, maybe education and making the taboo to go over, or like to kind of go away, I guess, from the industry is the main thing, is cultural change that we need to see.
Silly.
Thanks, Harry, for that. I
What do
think,
you think? How easy was it to go up to this top?
okay. I want to be honest and say it's not an easy ride when you're a woman, especially in the construction industry sector. But it is also a very interesting ride. I think, if I'm not wrong, the statistics show that we're still at 7 to 10% of women in construction project management, and probably in the entire construction sector, still at around 10% women participation. So we still have a long way to go. I know that in our country, we're deliberately trying to push young ladies into the STEM sector for every technical fields that we can get them into. And I'm part of a team that is also trying to mentor as many young women as possible to get into the sector. But getting into construction, I mean, in all the years that I've worked in, most of the time, I would be the only female participant in the entire team. And I would be the project manager, or I would be the client rep. And so you would feel the absence. We have a lot as women to offer. We have a lot of soft skills that we can use as project managers. And I think one of the things that I've learned from working in this sector is that we pay a lot of attention to detail as female project managers. From the women that I've worked with and the men that I've worked with, they've acknowledged that female project managers have a lot of attention that they pay to clients' details, and even to the contractors, and they appreciated that. And so maybe bringing a lot more women into the sector will go a long way to endorsing the project management sector, as it were. But I do believe that we have a lot of room for women to come on board in the sector. It may be constrictive, because obviously in some instances, like Harry has alluded to, it's not a comfortable place to be. But every job has some form of a discomfort that you might have to deal with. And if you're not physically able to do it, you have to accept you can't do it and allow those who can do it to do it. So it's that acceptance culturally, and just mentally being able to say we can work at par with women in this sector. And I think we can do it. We're going to get there.
I think that is how things should change immediately. And I totally agree with Harry that they bring a lot of environment or liveliness to the work over here. And I see a lot of questions from the audience coming on the construction, project management principle, agile or waterfall. And before going to that, I just want to ask one serious question. Out of all the project managers you have met, okay, how many were accidental project managers and how many were certified project managers? Harry, all the project managers you have met or worked with, how many of them were accidental and how many were genuinely certified and licensed?
The way I see it currently is that most of the construction managers that we have, if they were academic, they usually come from like civil engineering or industrial engineering. The major like laborers, workers that are coming are from apprenticeship. They are people that did the work, actual work in the field, and then they kind of grew in the industry and learned it and became managers. So construction project management is a little bit different than just project management that we've seen. You can have project managers from different like business side and contractual side and legal sides and all those different sides to enter the construction industry. But for a construction project manager to be very successful, you need a good technical background. You need to have that knowledge in the field and also the engineering part of it. So I remember when I graduated from our construction project management program in Wayne State Civil Engineering in 1999, I was like the 5th person that finished that program. So it is very new academically. I don't think it used to be that kind of program before, but it is growing. So I'm very hopeful for the future.
Your views, Eddie? How many construction project managers you met were accidental and how many were certified? Just for the public clarity, an accidental project manager is somebody who is working on construction site and went his way up, working with years of experience. He has done a certain construction job and then there's a repetitive job and he keeps on becoming eventually the project manager. He knows the things, but he may not be certified or may not be technically versed with the jargons we are using on this forum. So, so the question here is, Adi, how many construction project managers you have met are accidental and how many were certified? And
Janine, just a time check. This would be the last question. We don't have much time left, but we could continue the discussion forward here.
Okay, just a brief response to yes. In our case, mostly coming from the technical, like Harry mentioned, they're starting from the technical expertise, and then they're growing up according to the responsibility. Then when there is the managerial level, then they add the knowledge, project management, then they're getting certified at that level. That's in our case.
okay, I just want to take one last question, Priya, if it is okay, which is just a hands up, okay, on this side, whoever believes waterfall and all four. I think, Jose, you need to switch on the camera. On this side, whoever believes waterfall, and this side, whoever believes agile. There's no middle, okay? This is for the picture. Waterfall. Okay, both. Okay, no. The one you have to pick one. No, you cannot do that. Either waterfall or agile. Oh wow. So on three of our panelists believe waterfall, and the most experienced panelists believe agile is the way to go. We can carry on this discussion on social media post. Over to you, Priya.
Yes, so I would invite Pierre to walk us through the key takeaways and wrap up the session. So that was a good discussion, Janine.
Yes. Hi everyone, it's me, Pierre from PMI South Africa. That was indeed a very, very good discussion. I'm not at all involved in the industry, in the construction industry, but I've been able to learn quite a lot. First thing I can see is that there has been a lot of changes, like in all other industries, and all the companies had to adapt. So in terms of the effects of COVID-19, obviously there's been a lot of cancellations and a lot of lower productivity due to the measures of the pandemic. But then there also been a lot of innovations, like remote construction management. And also in terms of quality control, there's been new technologies developed. When it comes to working from home, obviously in the construction industry, it's more difficult to like, you can't do everything from home. So you have to balance between outdoor and indoor work. But then what's been done mostly from home was the office work, the planning and management work. And they've been trying to get less and less people on the site. And what I've liked there is that workers who were staying at home while quarantine actually got paid as well. In order to attract Gen Z into the construction industry, what I've learned is it depends on their personalities. So the ones who like being on the field instead of being in an office will be most likely to join that industry, but there are no real limitations as to who can join the industry. And then in terms of government involvement and aid for that industry, in terms of policies, what I've learned is that obviously governments would have been required to help the companies, I think mostly financially, but obviously that can't be sustainable on the long term. So every company actually had to come up with their own ways of adapting and their own solutions for that pandemic. And the last takeaway I want to give here is about the women in the industry. So there is a lower percentage of women in the industry, but that percentage is growing. And there is also no real limitation as to what women can do in the industry. It really depends on where they are the most comfortable on the site. So that's all for me. Thanks a lot for joining, and I hope you guys also have been able to learn quite a lot here.
Thank you, Pierre. And we will have to move on to the last section, which is the PDU code and the feedback. Feedback link has already been posted on the chat window. Yes, Pierre, go ahead. Yeah. Are you able to hear me, Pierre?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So mute yourself.
Oh.
So everyone, please do scan the QR code, and the link has been posted on the chat window for taking the feedback. The PDU code is on your screen. We will paste that in the chat window as well. And we would also like you to share topics which you would like to hear from us. And there is a section in the feedback link for that. And before we wrap up, we have to thank a few people who have made this event possible. And that is Swati and Sunil with their expertise and support on the WebEx part of it, making this event as smooth as ever. Thank you, Arif, for this beautiful flyers that you have created and the badge as well. And Damike, thank you for being our social media platform. The PDU code is displayed on the screen. Please do take a note of it and claim your one PDU by using this code. And everyone, please do scan the QR code on your screen and take the feedback and let us know what do you think about this session and topics that you would like to hear from us. With this, I think we are done. Thank you for everyone for joining this session in such great numbers and making this so exciting and so vibrant, I would say. There were lots of questions on the chat window. We couldn't take all, but definitely we will keep this discussion on social media. Do like, post, share the post that you see on the social media, and we will be back again next month with another exciting topic. God knows what that domain would be now. It all depends on what feedback you have given and what topics you want to hear from us. And with this, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Signing off from Mumbai, India. And bye-bye.